Well, hello, everyone. Hey, Alyssa, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Brian? How's it going?
I'm doing well. I can't, every time you see that video, you can't help but get excited about ST Math. Hopefully, everyone out there has seen it more than just this one time and go back and see it again. It's got some really good information and some of our new things. And Alyssa, this is what this is all about, right? We want to peek up under the hood a little bit of the
Yes.
vehicle and see what's going on with ST Math, what we've designed, and what we have on in store for us in the future, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of new updates in the past year and a half, especially during this, quite turbulent time in education.
Yeah,
And, I really love talking about the design process and with our leaders. So I'm excited
that's
to have this
right.
conversation.
I want to introduce everyone to you, Alyssa, a little bit in your background. So
Okay.
you were a former special ed high school teacher in New York,
That's
and
correct.
you're currently in San Francisco Bay Area, which is way better than
Yes.
me. I'm in Ohio, stuck here. But most importantly, you're a designer on the curriculum and instruction team. So you actually are doing some of this work, which is pretty sweet.
Yes, that's correct. And so a lot of my work might entail taking a look at some of our standards, taking a look at new games that are up in queue and get feedback based on the research that we've done. So it's pretty fun, get to be creative, and I could call it my dream job sometimes. So it's good.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. A little bit about you, Brian. So my
Yeah.
understanding is you were a former principal in several buildings in Ohio, and you implemented ST Math there. And now you work on the empowerment team as an academic director, advising other administrators on how to build a GG culture.
That's right. Yeah.
Cool.
It's the best job in the world too, Alyssa. We both have our dream jobs. So let's introduce our folks that are going to help us peek up under the hood of the vehicle. Let's bring in Tawana Young, who's our vice president of the curriculum instruction team that Alyssa's on. And then Matt Fellman, who's the vice president of our product team, who's been working diligently to launch some of the new stuff that that Alyssa just kind of mentioned there. Hey, Tawana. Hey, Matt. How's it going? Good to see you both.
Hey,
Good to see you both.
Thanks for taking the time out of your day. I know you guys are busy, and I know you two do a lot of work that's important and critical. Before we launch, though, Alyssa, we titled this fun session called "People, Process, and Penguins."
Yes.
This was your iteration. What's this about? Why those sections, and what are we going to do here?
Yeah, well, you came to me with the idea because you say that Tawana and Matt always have awesome updates. And I know just from working with Matt, who has helped speak to some of my districts and get their feedback, and being under Tawana's leadership, that there's so much cool, innovative things going on, and a lot of our research that informs our product, but also most importantly, how genuine and authentic their process is in getting that feedback and really implementing that into our products.
I love it.
That's why we came up with that.
Yeah. So those are the three sections we're going to kind of ask Matt and Tawana some of the questions around. And so feel free to expound upon it as you want and go where it takes us. But I'm really looking forward to it, Alyssa. And thanks so much for joining me. And you have questions that I wouldn't even come up with because I'm not designing this stuff like you are. So I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. Well, shall we go with our first question? And also we want, just from Tawana and Matt's words, tell us about yourself and your why in what you do. I'll start with Tawana first. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your why? Why mine?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to share a little bit about what we're doing with everyone. So I've been in education for over 20 years. And I have I've been a teacher, I've been a district administrator, curriculum developer, professional learning developer, and I've just seen so much students and parents alike, like they just struggle with who they are mathematically. They struggle with who can do math. Like there's no magic gene, there's no special group, but that's the kind of messaging that people receive. And so I've spent my whole career trying to undo that, trying to help people see that yes, in fact, you can do math. Math is a thinking subject. We all can think, we can do math. And so wanting people to have the same kind of love of math that I have. And so um, I've been doing that for my whole career, and then, man, hit the jackpot coming to mind. Just like you guys said, this is my dream job. Like being able to create content for students and for families and for teachers to really help them to see and experience the joy in mathematics. So that's my why. I want kids to see that they're confident and capable problem solvers. I want teachers to be able to unlock student potential and highlight their brilliance. And I want families not to see math as a barrier, but instead to see it as a way to view the world, to inspire change, to solve these problems that we're facing. Math is the answer to that. And so that's why I do this work. It's the right kind of work. I'm excited about the work. And I'm really excited about everything that we get to do together. I get to work with Matt a lot, and we get to do a lot of really cool things together. So
That's awesome. Your why resonates with mine as well. I was talking to Brian before this and how I didn't know about this idea of growth mindset in math until I became a teacher, and it ended up extending to other parts of my life where I embrace the messiness. I actually learn from my mistakes and see it as teachable moments. So I really appreciate hearing that. And Matt, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your why?
Yeah. Well, hello, everyone, and happy to be here with you. I've got this picture of a puzzle piece here because I have always been passionate about puzzles and problem solving and challenges from a very early age. I've always loved it, and I've continued to enjoy that. We played a lot of board games as a family growing up, solved it, and did a lot of jigsaw puzzles, and it's something I've always been passionate about. And math goes hand in hand with that, because math really at the heart is problem solving. And I have this quote at the bottom. So a few years ago, somebody I heard this quote from somebody that problems don't exist to be solved, but also to solve us. And that really resonated with me, that when we do problem solving, when we do mathematics, we learn about ourselves, we push ourselves, we challenge ourselves, and we see and test ourselves and learn about who we are. I had to modify the quote though, because I do think problems exist to be solved as well. And so it's a both and, like so many things in life. I think this past year and a half has really taught us as a global society that we have a lot of problems that we need to be able to solve. And we need mathematical thinkers. We need kids who are coming up with the mindset to be able to solve these challenging problems in our world, and to make it a better place for our families. You know, all of our students have a family. I think that's been one of the great blessings this past year and a half. We've been more exposed to the idea that all of our students that we're serving, you know, they have a family, they have parents that care about and love them. All of our coworkers have families, so I've loved that. And that's what we're here for, is to serve those students, to serve their families, and to serve people in the at the baseline. So that's what this is all about. That's my why. I just feel really passionate that math and that problem solving ability, we're not going to be able to solve ourselves to become the best version of ourselves if we don't enable our students to be problem solvers. So from my first teaching experience was in second grade. I was a problem child, and my second grade teacher sent me down to the first grade classroom to run flashcards during math class so that I wouldn't cause trouble. And I've had the opportunity to work with a variety of different people over my lifetime to help them see the beauty of mathematics. And I've learned just how challenging it is for us to understand mathematics, both myself and the students I've worked with. And so as math educators, this is a good problem to solve. It's a good puzzle. And so I just love that I get to do this every day. I get to come somewhere where we get to think about this and solve this problem. And we do it in a way where kids are problem solvers and get to solve puzzles. So it's really awesome.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Tawana. I think that, and I love what Alyssa said, it's really a mindset. All of it is, we're not looking for just 10%, 20% of our students to be mathematically equipped to solve the problems of the world. We want all of them. And I just, that's our mission. That's where we're around. And both of you, reiterated that, I think, too. It's interesting. Both Tawana and Matt are Midwesterners working for a California-based organization. And Alyssa's out there always. And I'm from the South. So I think we're representing the whole country here. That's pretty cool. So next question, going on the whole people theme here. You both shared your why as a human and what you're passionate about. Tell us a little about, and Matt, we'll go to you now, and then Tawana. Tell us a little about the teachers, the people aspect of the teachers. What feedback have you sought and gotten to really make our new ST Math as most effective as possible? What's the teacher input that's been helpful for you all?
Brian, teachers, gosh, our educators, it's been amazing in this crazy last year and a half that they have found so much time for us to come in and share their insights about the program and where we can improve ST Math. So it's just been amazing how giving our educators are with their time when we know how crazy it's been in schools. So we have so many different processes together that input. My favorite is just meeting and talking directly with our teachers and our administrators to hear their challenges with math instruction, where there's unmet needs, that what are their pain points, whether it's areas where we can improve the product to make their lives easier, to make their students' lives easier. That's my favorite channel of input. We reach out, Alyssa, who formerly supported some of our districts before her role on this, would help us to set up time with our educators to hear directly from them. But we also do surveys, so we want to reach everyone. Not every teacher can have that, can set aside that time to meet with us, and so we do surveys throughout the year as well to hear from educators. And we heard this year two things. So we send surveys out in November and May, and we asked for feedback. We asked for how should we improve the program, and we heard two things that came out and rose above the rest in that aligned with what we heard in our discussions with educators. One, let's make it easier to get to the data in the console. And so you saw in the entrance video, if you were able to catch that, our improved console. And we improved the class reports, made it easier for educators to customize those reports, to have the data that they want, displayed the way they want it, so that they can get in and get out, right? We want them spending time with their kids, with their students, working on math learning, working on instruction. And so that was one big area that we did a whole redesign of the console based on and prioritized based on the feedback that we heard. The second was facilitation and having embedded help. And so we added that into the console. And we added in a facilitation tip section that we're going to be expanding on throughout this year. We're going to be adding more tips, more videos, more things to help our educators learn about our content. That was the second big request that we heard, both in-person discussions and in the survey. So it really goes, those two features, you see it in the video. That's what we heard, and so that's what we prioritize and put to the top. So our educators come with so many ideas, but also help us prioritize.
Thanks, Matt. Tawana, how about you? What would you say?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I would just echo what Matt said. Like, our educators are so important, and I am just so grateful for all of the time that they've given us. So we actually have a group we call a co-design group. It's called MEND, which it stands for Math Equity in Design. And it's a teacher learning community made up of teachers all over the country. And essentially, they help us out a lot. They give us a lot of feedback. They give us their ideas. One of the things that my team is working on is we are building out curriculum resources. And so the teachers are really integral into that. They're telling us what they need, what things they'd like to see. They're telling us how they'd like to use something. We're problem solving through some of the challenges that they see with their students in math concepts. And so their input is so valuable. But we don't just have teachers. We have this MEND group. We also have a group called Math Leadership Network, and that is a group of administrators, coaches, district administrators, curriculum directors from all over the country, and they are also helping us. They're talking about how they can, how the resources can help. They're talking about what the needs are, because what we want to do is, with what we're developing, we want to take care of the whole ecosystem that surrounds the student, right? We need to lift the student up, lift up everyone that's with the student, that works with the student. And so that's really what we're focused on. And then one of my favorite groups, they're all my favorite, but one of my really favorite groups is our Math by Design group, because that has students in it. And students love our games, and they love to get involved, and they love to tell us what they like about our games, what they like about math, what they'd like to see changed and done differently. And we just had a meeting last night with this group, and it's students and their parents, and just the excitement to have the opportunity to have their voice in something, for them to be able to say, this is how I learn, this is what I'd like to see. And we actually have them create things. And some of the things they create are things that get used by people all across this country. And so it's just a really exciting time. We couldn't do what we do without the people, without the students and their families, without the administrators, and without the teachers, because their input is invaluable. We're trying to make something to support their work, and so we have to have their voice in that work. And so we're really, really excited about and grateful for all the feedback and support that they give us.
Prior to COVID, Matt and Tawana, y'all sent a lot of folks in the field to test out things, to trial and error it, to just see in real time the reaction from teachers and students. And we definitely put a lot of time and commitment to that effort, and that's awesome. I think, Leslie, you got the next question.
Yeah, I do actually have this quote up. I don't know if everyone can learn math. So I wanted to ask both of you, how can we as a neuroscience research organization say that with confidence? And how does knowing that impact your work, and how does it shape your process?
I can start. That's a really great question. And actually, it's really funny because I was a teacher for a long time, and I always would tell my students, math is about thinking, and everyone can think, so everyone can do math. And I would tell them that all the time. And I just think it's so important for people to understand that math is for everyone. I think sometimes we have this idea of what math is, and it's like computation problems and rules to learn, but that's not truly what math is. Like, getting to the conceptual understanding part of math really helps kids and people see and understand what it is. So to me, when I think about everyone can learn math, it kind of gives you permission to make your mistakes. Like you talked earlier, Alyssa, about getting messy. Learning is messy. Like, we never learn anything without it being messy. And so to truly learn it. And so knowing that you can do it is a lot different than thinking that you may or may not be able to do it, right? So if I have this idea that math is for some people, but it's not for me, then anytime I make a mistake, all that is reinforcing the fact that I can't do math. But once I understand and I realize that everyone can do math, that every mistake I make is a learning opportunity, that there is something to learn from that. And we do that in our games. Every time students play our games and they try something, they get feedback that tells them why they were right or why they were wrong. And they can use that information to change their thinking, to adjust their strategy. And so that is so important to help kids understand that we learn from our mistakes. And the way that I like to talk about it with my team is that I don't know if you guys have heard of like the Super Mario effect. Have you guys heard of that?
No, I haven't.
So it is like why kids like playing video games and why they will continue, even though they fail time and time again. It's because they're more concerned with the princess, rescuing the princess, getting to the quest, achieving the quest, than the pits that they fall into. And so when we think about every time we make a mistake, it's just a pit that we've fallen into. We can take the information, we can keep going on our quest to learn more. And so we've applied that philosophy into everything that we do, into how we design and how we talk to the students. And I think when students realize this, that they are the authors of their own learning, then that empowers them to be okay with making mistakes.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Learn something new every time with Tawana.
Well, I was also going to add to that. I think part of our work too is to help teachers embrace the messiness of math and realize that, you know, what we want to do with ST Math is just bring out their excellence. It's a tool for them to bring out what they do best, which is facilitating and helping guide students' learning. Matt, was there anything you wanted to add to that question?
I love the Super Mario analogy. And I think one of the great things about ST Math in the form that it takes with our game-based approach is that when students pick up a game, they believe that they can beat the game, right? And so when students jump on ST Math, they believe that they can beat the game. So they come with that schema in mind, and that helps break down that barrier of can I or can't I be successful at math. And I think the secret sauce underneath, and the thing that as math educators we still have a long way to go on, is the conceptual understanding piece. So I mentioned going down and running flashcards. And what I quickly learned doing that, we know that's not the end approach to teaching math, but some kids can't, they really struggle to memorize facts, and it's because that conceptual understanding is not there, and that's the solution. And so how do we help students develop conceptual understanding of math? I think that's the real key to how and why every student can learn. Why do I believe every student can do this? Well, because if we explain it and we can conceptually help them build that conceptual understanding, of course they can learn it. And we just need to work on ways as math educators here at Mind and in our space to understand how to build that conceptual understanding of the math concepts. And that to me is what we're really focused on. And what's a little different, I think, about working here at Mind is that we're always thinking about how do we build that conceptual understanding of the math topics.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Brian, I think you have the next question.
Yeah, and this continue this process thinking, what drives, you can go first now, Matt, and then Tawana, what drives your core principles of designing something? If you're going to go through a process, what is it that you do to make something as effective and as impactful as possible? What's your process there?
Yeah, that's a great question. A design process is it's interesting. We always got to start in clarifying what are we trying to accomplish with the design? What's the problem we're trying to solve? So, we apply math to our work as designers and understand what we're trying to accomplish. And for us, that always starts with the learning. And we're a student first organization. So what are the learning goals for the students when we design a new game, when we are designing a new experience, we think about, what are those learning outcomes that we want? And then how can we design for that to happen? and then we get it out and get some feedback. And so the problem solving process is up here, and I'm going to let Tawana talk about that. This is our process for how we make learning happen in the program. And we apply it to our own, the problem solving is what we do with design. We make predictions about how we might solve this problem. And then we go and we test and observe with our students and with our educators, whether if it's an educator console feature, we go out and we take the designs out and we test and observe. We analyze and learn, and we go back and we iterate on the designs. This was part of designing the new version of ST Math we launched. We did this across the country with hundreds of educators. And so this problem solving process that's at the core of our learning model is also at the core of our design process. It's iterative design and getting out and working with students and educators. That's the process. Sometimes it can we can almost make it too complicated. But the key is having these loops in there where you're testing and observing and analyzing and learning with students and teachers involved.
That's awesome. Tawana, would you add?
Yeah, I would just, I don't have much to add to that. We kind of go through the process, like as Matt described. The thing about this problem solving process is one of the things that we wanted to do was to bring that out so that teachers could use that with kids in the classroom, which is what you see here, the way that kids can interact with the puzzles and solve any kind of problem that they have, really. And so this is what we do. I will say my favorite part is that middle part where we think we got it. We talk about why we think this will work, and then we test it and see what happens. And we do this whole iteration process. And one of my favorite things is we will test in classrooms with kids. And I love the feedback that the kids give you. So the learning isn't just like coming from adults, it's coming from kids, like what they're saying about the experience that they had or how that made them think. And that happened. I told you we met with our Math by Design group last night. I shared something with them that we had gone through this process on, we had created, and my favorite, I told them, I said, this is my favorite page I'm sharing with you. And they had lots of really great feedback because they have that perspective, that lens. And that's why this process and taking it out to the field and testing and observing and then analyzing not just adults, but students as well, and the results of it and learning from that. And that's at our core of who we are. We are a learning organization. And then you see off to the side, there's that connect and extend. Because once we've learned it and this is the way that it works, we are always innovating. So we're always thinking about, okay, what can we do? How can we make this even better? What can we connect it to? How can we extend the thinking in this? And that's the process that we go through when we're designing.
I love it. This gets me so excited because I think we, so often in life, we strive to do the things that we believe in. However, the nitty gritty can take away, the process can kind of muddy it, but you just defined it. The process is this for us. And just like our games, when kids are in school classrooms and they're visualizing these games, they can't help but talk about it. Similarly, y'all, as you design things, watching kids get it or not get it, can't help but just listen to it. Listen to that feedback, that information. It's so powerful. And I remember back in the day when I was a principal, and Tawana, you would come to my classrooms, you were constantly looking, you were doing the notice and wonder in real time then. What's figuring out what's happening there? We see across the board and everything that we do. And hey, listen, you get this next question on DEI. It's so critical.
Yeah, I was, I had a conversation last night about this idea that DEI used to be this breakthrough, innovative concept, but now it's become the norm, and it should be the standard for what we all aim to do. And I was curious to hear from both of you, what does that mean for you personally and professionally? I know, Tawana, you allude to it in your co-design work. And what does that mean for us as an organization at Mind?
Tawana, run with it.
You're
biting at the chomp.
I was trying to wait, so I was using my teacher wait time.
And Matt's being respectful because he's not going to overtalk somebody.
I know. So this is like a huge thing for us. Like one of the big goals is helping kids like see themselves in the math, making the work that we do so diverse, so that there's multiple representations, multiple ways that kids can solve things and come up with things. But it's also like inclusive, right? Like we want to make sure that there's culture included. There are things that kids are doing or that they're experiencing. I love the fact that math can be used to tell the story of culture. Like one of my favorite things I talk about is the Labombo bone, which is like was found like a bazillion years ago. And in sub-Saharan Africa, and it's a measurement tool. And so it's so great to like bring that to kids and talk to them about that and talk to them about how cultures use mathematics, and then to get them to think about the mathematics that they use. Like there's a culture in your home. What's the mathematics that you use in your home? There's a culture in your neighborhood. There's a culture in your school. So getting them to be able to look and see the mathematics that's around them, that brings math close, and it makes it something that feels doable. And so that's one of the things that we really strive to do. We really want to position students as authors of their own learning, position them as those mathematical resources so that other kids can see them that way, and then really pull out the brilliance. So it's not just about doing things one way, but understanding that there's multiple ways to do something and helping kids see all the ways in which they already are mathematical. So I'll give you an example. A lot of times in schools, you will have students who tap on their desk, they beatbox, they do whatever. And they will also be the same kids. I had them in my class that would tell you, I can't do math. I can't do fractions. And I'm telling them, you just were. Like you're keeping time in fractions as you do your little tapping on your desk and you do your beatboxing. They're doing that. And so just helping them see that totally changes the game for them. And to me, that's part of diversity, equity, and inclusion. You're showing them diverse perspective. You're including the things that are close to them, the culture, the experience, the environment. You're showing it in an equitable way by giving them what they need, like speaking to them about what they need and showing them how they're already doing things like fractions. And so we're trying really hard to do that. We're trying to approach things from an asset-based approach because there's way too much deficit language. One of the things that we know about math is that Carol Dweck and Joe Bowler did a bunch of research, and one of the things they talked about was the evidence. There's no scientific evidence that says that your brain is smarter than the other person's brain. It's all about the messages you receive and the opportunities that you have. And so if we think about the messages that our kids get on a regular basis, we get all these headlines that say, you have double the learning loss, you are behind, you don't meet the standard. Those are all deficit-based languages. So how can I ever think I'm going to be mathematical if that's what's coming at me? And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a different kind of environment, a different kind of narrative that shows and highlights the brilliant things that students do, the assets that they possess, and the things that they're able to accomplish. And so that's how we change things. That's how we improve math education. We lift people up, and then they will soar. And that's what we need to do. And that's what we're trying to do. So when I think about DEI, that's what we're working on. We have on my team 10 key areas that we're focused on. I'm not going to name all 10 of them, but we've got agency, we've got cultural relevancy, we've got asset-based language, and that's just some of them. But these are things that we're focused on as we design. We're being very mindful that the products that we put out there are going to do that for kids. And we don't just want to do it for kids. I said earlier, we're taking care of the whole ecosystem. We're applying it to the way we train teachers. We're applying it to the things that we provide for families, because we want families to love math, to have joy in math, to like get excited about doing math things at home and have math conversations. And we can't do that unless we change the narrative.
That's great. I love that DEI is beyond, I mean, it's definitely cultural. It's definitely your heritage, it's your relevance, but you even just threw in their personality, which is cool. You know, if you have a student who's just, you know, a fidgeter who wants to socialize, how can you connect it? How can you get them connected and included into the math space that you're trying to, you know, generate in that room? I think that's really brilliant. Can you tease out though, aren't y'all working on something down the road here to be broader, or is that something we can't chat about yet?
We are working on something, Brian. We are working on some new resources, new curriculum that will incorporate a lot of these DEI things that I'm talking about: the agency, the positioning of students, helping students see themselves in the mathematics, really cool activities that bring math close to them so they can like see things in their home and see it from a mathematics perspective. So that's all I'm going to give you right now. You're going to have to invite me back if you want any more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, curriculum instruction leader. We'll do that.
I will add though that one of the things I internalize under Tawana's leadership is this idea of asset-based lens. And, you know, we want our internal environment to mirror the products and services we put out for our students. So on our team, you know, we make a cognizant or an intentional effort to shout out people's brilliance on our team, and just knowing, okay, I can go to Diana for this, I can go to Anna for this, and like all of these people with some diverse backgrounds. It's really great that we are implementing it and we practice what we preach. Brian, I think that you have the next question.
Okay. Feldman, did you want to add anything to that? I mean, Tawana just covered. It's hard to add, but if you want to.
I don't think I can add anything. All I'll say is, you know, all is in our mission at Mind. Our mission is to mathematically equip all students, and so we're really passionate about that. We mean all, and we believe all. We believe all, and so this isn't just a pie in the sky dream. We know that all students can learn math when equipped with the right tools to help them learn math, to love math, and to be successful with math. And so this is a mission that we're excited to achieve through all the wonderful things that Tawana shared.
That's awesome. No, that's great. That's a good, I think, exclamation point on what Tawana said. All kids, we're going after it and we believe in it. This is a great next segment to lead into our next segment here about penguins. Who knew a penguin named Gigi could be so universally powerful to get math just in the doorway of so many classrooms? Who knew that? I've been in 3 different buildings. I have 4 children. They all love Gigi. All the buildings I've been in with ST Math, those kids, Gigi is their mascot, cheering them on, is going bonkers for them, and they relate. It's our Disney, you know, mascot. You know, it's something we celebrate. But Alyssa mentioned it earlier. I try to bring a Gigi culture in the buildings I was in, and what that for me is that kids like math and they feel like they can do math. So how do you, Tawana and Matt, Gigify the work you do here at Mind and all the spaces you walk in? Feldman, we'll go with you, Matt. How do you Gigify your work?
Well, I love what you said, Brian, and I just want to underline that I think one of the great things, you know, I just talked about all students can see themselves in Gigi, and can see themselves problem solving with Gigi and learning math with Gigi, and I think that's amazing. One thing that is I love to problem solve. I love challenges. I love buckling down. But one of the things I think that's been really important is also play and having fun. It's something that I think especially just with everything going on this last year and a half can go to the wayside. And I think it's one of the things that is great about our little penguin friend, is that math is fun, and math can be fun, and Gigi, our penguin, makes Gigi is about being playful and having fun, and doing challenging things. And so that's when I think of bringing that back into what we're doing internally here at Mind and within my team. It's remembering that to have fun while we're doing it, to play. And that brings, that it has an element of bringing out creativity and innovation as well. It's really important. There's a lot of research about how important play is towards building creative and innovative environments. And so that's, I think, one big area where Gigi-fying our work, it's an area I'm always pushing myself on and thinking about, is how can we have more fun and how can we play more while working really hard to solve this challenging problem.
All right, Tawana, you how do you Gigi-fy your work? You do it all the time, I know.
Yes. So I am a huge fan of Gigi. I think the thing that Gigi teaches me really is collaboration. And Gigi never gives up. Gigi doesn't quit. There's not a challenge that we put in front of Gigi that Gigi decides not to do. And this work is hard and it's challenging, but it's worth it. And so when I think about the only way Gigi's overcoming obstacles and moving ahead in the game is with someone helping. And so that's the collaboration part. And that's another part that I just love about our organization is everybody's so excited. Everybody's so passionate that you can collaborate with people. We're not going to get this work done alone. It takes all of us working together collectively, figuring out these problems. And that's the Gigi-fication of my work, I believe, is really like, how can we figure out these problems together? How can we collaborate? Whether it's our internal collaboration we do or the external collaboration that Matt and I have talked about that we do with educators and families in the field. But that is a huge part of it. And then the other thing that I really love is we are always on my team pushing each other, trying to make tantalizingly tricky problems. And Gigi has some games. Like there are some games that I will just be 100% and tell you that sometimes I get stuck. But I know that I'm eventually going to get there. And I know that through just paying attention and hard work and perseverance and collaborating, I'm going to get there. And that's the same way that we all are. We're going to get there. We're going to get this work done. We're going to get to our mission of all students. We're going to get there together, and we're going to get there because we love tantalizingly tricky problems, and we're going to keep working on them until we can figure them out. And we're going to bring in all the people we need to bring in to be able to figure them out because we know that we need them to do it. And that's Gigi-fying the work.
So cool. I hope the teachers heard that out there. Even Tawana Young sometimes struggles with some of our games. So don't feel too embarrassed. Alyssa, you want to do the last?
Yeah, it's the last question. And I think I know the answer to this, but if you had to choose your favorite type of penguin, what would it be?
Is there really any other answer to this question than Gigi?
I think the rock hopper one, I think, is pretty cool. The one on the bottom left with like kind of looks rock and roll.
Oh yeah, that reminds me of that movie, the singer movie.
Oh, the Happy Feet.
Yeah, Happy Feet.
For those who may not know, in our office, the conference rooms are named after different penguins. So all these penguins on the poster here are represented across our office. So it's a fun way to pay tribute to our favorite penguin and our friend in math.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Tawana and Matt, for joining us. And I know it's evening out there for you East Coasters, so we will hop off. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in as well to learn about more more about our people, penguins, and process.
That's right. Thanks, Alyssa. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Tawana. Have a good afternoon, evening to you all too.
Thank you.
That was fun, Tawana and Matt. Way to go. Alyssa, you're awesome. You're just like,
Oh.